The mechanic's wrench freezes mid-turn. It's 4:47 a.m. on July 15, 1943, and Chief Technician William Morrison stands in the cold hangar at RAF Ballykelly, Northern Ireland, staring at a nightmare. Behind him, 40 consolidated B-24 Liberator bombers, four-engine beasts designed to hunt German U-boats prowling the Atlantic, sit in various states of disassembly. Only 18 are flight-ready. The rest are torn apart for preventive maintenance. Morrison wipes grease from his hands and checks his logbook. Squadron 120 was supposed to launch 24 aircraft at dawn for anti-submarine patrol. He can give them 18. Maybe. If the hydraulic system on Liberator FL-847 cooperates. If the engine swap on FL-92 gets finished in the next hour. If. The mathematics are brutal. RAF Coastal Command operates approximately 80 Liberators across two squadrons at Ballykelly. On any given day in July 1943, fewer than 40 are mission capable. The rest languish in maintenance, either scheduled 50-hour preventive checks or emergency repairs following those checks. Half the fleet, grounded. While German U-boats slip through the mid-Atlantic gap, sinking merchant ships carrying food, fuel, and ammunition to Britain. The statistics paint a grim picture. Between January and June 1943, U-boats sank 282 Allied merchant vessels, 1.5 million tons of shipping sent to the bottom. Each Liberator costs $140,000 and represents months of production. Each one grounded means one less hunter stalking submarines. The operational readiness rate hovers at 48%. For every 2 bombers built, one sits uselessly in a hangar. Morrison knows the drill. Every 50 flying hours, per Air Ministry regulations, each Liberator undergoes comprehensive preventive maintenance. Engines are pulled and inspected, control surfaces removed and examined, hydraulic systems flushed, electrical components tested. It takes ground crews 72 hours to complete the checklist. Then the aircraft returns to service. Except it doesn't. Not really. Morrison's logbooks reveal a disturbing pattern. Aircraft that enter scheduled maintenance emerge with more problems than they had going in. Oil leaks that didn't exist before. Misfiring engines that ran smoothly yesterday. Radio failures on freshly inspected equipment. Within days of completing a 50-hour check, Liberators return to the hangar with squawks, sometimes a dozen new malfunctions. What Morrison doesn't know, what nobody in the entire RAF understands yet, is that the solution isn't more maintenance, it's less. And a civilian scientist with no engineering credentials is about to prove it. The faith in preventive maintenance runs deep in 1943. It's orthodoxy, gospel, unquestioned doctrine. Aeronautical engineers, Air Ministry officials, and maintenance commanders all agree. Machines wear out predictably. Components have finite lifespans. The only way to prevent catastrophic failures is rigorous, scheduled intervention. The logic seems ironclad. An aircraft engine operates under extreme stress, high temperatures, tremendous vibrations, corrosive exhaust gases. Surely regular inspection catches problems before they become disasters. Surely taking machines apart, cleaning components, measuring tolerances, and replacing marginal parts prevents failures. Every 50 hours, the cycle repeats. Ground crews swarm over aircraft like ants. They drain oil and examine it for metal particles. They remove spark plugs and measure electrode gaps. They test magnetos, adjust carburetors, check valve clearances. It's thorough. It's comprehensive. It's killing operational capability. By summer 1943, the crisis deepens. RAF Coastal Command bears responsibility for hunting U-boats in the eastern Atlantic and Bay of Biscay. Long-range Liberators equipped with advanced centimetric radar represent the cutting edge of anti-submarine warfare. But radar-equipped aircraft sitting in hangars sink exactly 0 submarines. Air Chief Marshal Sir Philip Joubert, who commanded Coastal Command until February 1943, repeatedly clashed with Air Ministry over resources. "Give me more aircraft," he demanded. "We need 120 VLR Very Long Range Liberators to close the Mid-Atlantic gap." The Air Ministry responded with studies, committees, reports. They calculated production rates and shipping allocations. They debated whether Coastal Command's needs superseded Bomber Command's strategic bombing campaign. Nobody questioned whether the problem was maintenance doctrine itself. The failed solutions pile up like maintenance discrepancy reports. Solution number 1, increase ground crew staffing. Add mechanics to reduce turnaround time. Result, more hands pulling apart aircraft doesn't improve readiness. It just creates more opportunities for human error during reassembly. Solution number 2, implement stricter quality control. Add inspection stages to catch mistakes. Result, maintenance takes longer. Readiness rates don't improve. Solution number 3, reduce the interval between preventive maintenance from 50 hours to 40 hours. Catch problems earlier. Result, aircraft spend even more time grounded. The cure becomes worse than the disease. Solution number 4, create express maintenance schedules for urgent operational needs. Rush critical aircraft through checks. Result, rushed work generates more mistakes. Emergency repairs multiply. Expert consensus holds firm. Professor J.B.S. Haldane, scientific advisor to the Air Ministry, writes, "Mechanical reliability derives from preventive intervention. The alternative, waiting for failures, invites catastrophe." The Royal Aeronautical Society publishes papers detailing optimal inspection intervals. Engineering manuals specify torque values, clearance measurements, and replacement schedules down to the smallest bolt. Nobody suggests doing less. The stakes couldn't be higher. German Grand Admiral Karl Dönitz commands 300 operational U-boats by mid-1943. His Wolfpack tactics coordinate submarine groups to overwhelm convoy escorts. In May 1943 alone, German submarines sink 34 merchant ships. Every percentage point improvement in U-boat effectiveness translates to dead sailors and cargo lost. Britain imports 68 million tons of supplies annually. Food for civilians, oil for vehicles, steel for factories, ammunition for armies. Submarines threaten that lifeline. Winston Churchill later writes, "The only thing that ever really frightened me during the war was the U-boat peril." Against this backdrop, RAF Coastal Command needs aircraft in the air, not in hangars. The math is simple and brutal. 8 Liberators airborne searching the Bay of Biscay cover 150,000 square miles per day. 8 Liberators grounded for maintenance cover 0. U-boats travel on the surface at 14 knots, submerged at 7. Every hour without air coverage allows submarines to reposition, reload, and attack again. The maintenance crisis isn't a minor inconvenience. It's a force multiplier for the enemy. And conventional wisdom offers no solutions. Only one man has the audacity to question everything. Conrad Waddington is wrong for this job in every conceivable way. He's a developmental biologist, a paleontologist, a geneticist specializing in embryology. When war erupts in 1939, he's studying how genes influence physical development. Theoretical work involving fruit flies and cellular differentiation. 0 practical experience with aircraft. 0 engineering credentials. 0 background in mechanical systems. He's 38 years old, thin, bespectacled, more comfortable with microscopes than machine tools. His laboratory at Cambridge University focuses on evolutionary biology. He publishes papers with titles like Canalization of Development and the Inheritance of Acquired Characters. He's a scientist, brilliant in abstract theory, utterly unprepared for military logistics. Yet, in 1940, Patrick Blackett, physicist, future Nobel laureate, and pioneer of operational research, recruits Waddington for RAF Coastal Command's Operational Research Section. Blackett sees beyond credentials. He wants minds that question assumptions, that approach problems from unconventional angles. Waddington joins CCORS, Coastal Command Operational Research Section, in late 1940. His first assignments focus on tactics and weapons effectiveness. He analyzes bombing runs against U-boats. He calculates optimal depth charge settings. He studies camouflage schemes. The work produces astonishing results that defy military conventional wisdom. When bombers painted black hunt submarines at night, U-boat lookouts spot them at 2,000 yards. Waddington runs controlled tests with different paint schemes. White bombers close to 1,600 yards before detection, a 20% improvement that translates to 30% more. Successful attacks. Commanders resist. White aircraft, ridiculous. Visible for miles. Waddington provides data, evidence, mathematical analysis. Eventually, they relent. U-boat sinkings increase. Next, depth charges. RAF doctrine calls for 100-foot detonation depth. Waddington studies hundreds of attacks. Most U-boats hit by aircraft are crash diving, still near the surface. He calculates optimal depth, 25 feet. Commanders argue, the manual specifies 100 feet. Engineering studies determine that depth. Waddington counters with operational data. After fierce debate, Coastal Command changes doctrine. The results stagger critics. U-boat destruction rates increase sevenfold. But these victories prepare Waddington for his most consequential insight. By July 1943, Waddington redirects his attention to the force readiness problem. 2 Liberator squadrons at Ballykelly operate 40 aircraft. Only 20 achieve flight-ready status on average. Half the fleet grounded. The bottleneck isn't production or pilots or fuel, it's maintenance. Waddington walks the flight line at RAF Ballykelly. He talks with ground crews. Real conversations, not officer-to-mechanic interrogations. Chief Technician Morrison describes the maddening cycle. Aircraft comes in for 50-hour maintenance, perfectly airworthy. We follow the checklist, pull the engines, inspect everything, reassemble it. 2 days later, it's back with 6 new squawks. Oil leaks, radio failures, control surface vibrations that weren't there before. Other mechanics confirm the pattern. Squadron leader Robert Palmer, a pilot, adds his perspective. I flew FL 847 Tuesday. Beautiful aircraft, smooth as silk. Thursday, she goes into maintenance. Saturday, she's back with rough-running number 3 engine and hydraulic pressure fluctuations. We didn't even touch the hydraulics during the check. Waddington listens, questions, takes notes in his meticulous handwriting. Then, on July 19th, 1943, he has a moment of insight that will revolutionize aviation maintenance forever. What if prevention isn't the solution? What if it's the problem? Waddington's workshop is a commandeered office at RAF Ballykelly. No secret hangar, no prototype machinery, just a room with filing cabinets and a desk piled with maintenance logs. His tools are crude by scientific standards. Pencils, graph paper, maintenance discrepancy reports stretching back 6 months. His methodology draws from evolutionary biology, population analysis, statistical patterns, survival curves. He's applying Darwin to liberators. Working alongside him is Cecil Gordon, a geneticist recruited to CCORS. Together, they begin collecting data that nobody else considered worth analyzing. For each of the 40 liberators at Ballykelly, they record hours since last scheduled maintenance number of unscheduled repairs between maintenance intervals, type of failures requiring emergency fixes time. Each aircraft spent mission-capable versus grounded. The work is tedious, unglamorous. They wade through logbooks filled with mechanics' scrawled notes. Starboard outer oil pressure, erratic. replaced gauge. Port landing gear retraction slow. Adjusted cable tension. Radio compass inoperative. Found loose connection. Waddington creates a graph plotting unscheduled repairs against flying hours since last maintenance. The pattern that emerges makes him stop breathing. Unscheduled repairs spike immediately after each 50-hour maintenance event. In the first 5 flying hours post-maintenance, liberators experience an average of 4.2 squawks, requiring immediate attention. Then, the failure rate drops steadily. By 40 flying hours, just before the next scheduled maintenance, the failure rate bottoms out at 0.8 squawks per 5 hours. Then scheduled maintenance happens again, and the spike repeats. The crude prototype is the graph itself, a visual proof that scheduled maintenance increases failures instead of preventing them. Waddington writes in his diary, "Maintenance tends to increase breakdowns, and this can only be because it is doing positive harm by disturbing a relatively satisfactory state of affairs. Secondly, there is no sign that the rate of breakdown is beginning to increase again after the 40-50 flying hours, when the aircraft is coming due for its next scheduled preventive maintenance event." The first test comes when Waddington presents his findings to Station Commander Group Captain Harold Maguire on August 3, 1943. He lays out the graph, explains the methodology, delivers the conclusion. Scheduled maintenance is sabotaging readiness. Maguire stares at the data. "You're saying we should do less maintenance?" "I'm saying the current interval is counterproductive. Every time we disassemble an aircraft, we introduce new failure modes. Fasteners loosened and retorqued never quite seat the same way. Gaskets removed and replaced develop leaks. Electrical connections disturbed create intermittent faults. That's..." Maguire searches for words. "That's illegal. Air Ministry regulations require 50-hour preventive maintenance. The regulations are killing operational capability. This is insane. You want me to tell my maintenance officers to ignore official doctrine based on biology research? But Waddington has the data, weeks of numbers, patterns that can't be dismissed." Maguire makes a decision that will echo through aviation history. "Write your recommendations. Formal report. I'll forward it through channels." That report, marked secret and distributed to exactly 17 officers, becomes the most consequential maintenance document of World War II. The report reaches Air Ministry headquarters in London on August 17, 1943. It lands on desks belonging to men who've spent careers building maintenance doctrine. Wing Commander Thomas Whitaker, Director of Aircraft Maintenance, reads Waddington's conclusions and immediately fires back a memo. This analysis contradicts fundamental principles of mechanical reliability. The author possesses no engineering qualifications. His recommendations endanger aircraft and crews. Group Captain Edmund Huddleston, Air Ministry Engineering Branch, adds his objection. "Preventive maintenance exists precisely to prevent the catastrophic failures that random operation invites. Reducing maintenance intervals abandons proven safety protocols for untested theories." The British Air Commission's chief engineer writes, "Embryology may inform Mr. Waddington's understanding of fruit flies. It provides zero relevant expertise regarding radial engines operating at 2,700 RPM or hydraulic systems under 3,000 psi pressure." Waddington's report gets labeled academically interesting but operationally dangerous. The confrontation comes to a head during a September 14, 1943, meeting at Air Ministry headquarters. Present, Air Marshal John Slessor, Commander-in-Chief of Coastal Command, Wing Commander Whitaker, Aircraft Maintenance Group, Captain Huddleston, Engineering, Squadron Leader, Waddington, CCORS, Cecil Gordon, CCORS, Group, Captain Maguire, RAF Ballykelly. Waddington presents his findings. The room temperature drops. You're proposing, Whitaker says, his voice tight, that we extend maintenance intervals from 50 hours to, what, 70, 80, 100? The data suggests longer intervals would improve readiness, Waddington responds. Based on 6 months of observations at one station. 2 squadrons, 40 aircraft, comprehensive records. Huddleston leans forward. Mr. Waddington, with all respect to your work against U-boats, you're fundamentally misunderstanding mechanical systems. Unlike biological organisms, machines don't heal themselves. They deteriorate predictably. Without preventive intervention, they fail, catastrophically. That's the assumption I'm challenging, Waddington says. Biological systems and mechanical systems both exhibit... The room erupted, Gordon later recalls in his unpublished notes. 3 senior officers speaking simultaneously. Whitaker declared the recommendations professionally irresponsible. Huddleston called them mathematically clever, but mechanically illiterate. McGuire defended the operational data. Slessor simply listened. The arguments hit crescendo against Waddington. This violates every engineering textbook. We'll have engines failing mid-mission, killing crews. Maintenance doctrine comes from decades of aviation experience. You're asking us to trust biology over engineering. Supporting Waddington. The current system doesn't work. We have half our fleet grounded. His recommendations on depth charges saved hundreds of lives. What if conventional wisdom is wrong? The data doesn't lie, Air Marshal Slessor raises his hand. Silence falls. Wing Commander Whitaker, what's our current operational readiness rate for VLR Liberators? 48%, sir, averaging across all coastal command stations. Squadron Leader Waddington, what does your analysis predict if we implement your recommendations? 70 to 75% readiness within 3 months. And if you're wrong, if engines fail, if aircraft crash, then we return to current doctrine, sir. But the mathematics... Mathematics, Whitaker interrupts, don't account for metal fatigue, bearing wear, combustion chamber carbon buildup. Slessor cuts him off. Gentlemen, we're losing the Battle of the Atlantic. I need aircraft hunting submarines, not sitting in hangars receiving maintenance they apparently don't need. Mr. Waddington's track record speaks for itself. His depth charge recommendation alone justified my faith in operational research. He looks directly at Whitaker. I'm authorizing a controlled test. RAF Ballykelly will implement revised maintenance protocols. We'll monitor failure rates, engine conditions, and structural integrity. 3 months. If readiness improves without safety incidents, we expand the program. The room goes silent. Sir, Whitaker says carefully, you're risking aircraft and crews. I'm risking 40 aircraft at one station on a hypothesis backed by data. Slessor interrupts. Against the certainty that our current system isn't working. Approved. If you're finding this story incredible, wait until you see what happened when they actually tested it. But first, smash that subscribe button and hit notifications. We release 3 forgotten military history stories weekly, and you don't want to miss what's coming. Now, let's talk about what happened when Waddington's crazy system went into actual combat operations. The implementation begins October 1st, 1943, at RAF Ballykelly. Waddington's revised maintenance program contains 4 revolutionary elements. 1. Extended maintenance intervals from 50 hours to 80 hours minimum, 100 hours when operationally feasible. 2. Elimination of preventive tasks lacking demonstrable benefit. No more just-in-case component replacements. No more disassembling systems that show no malfunction symptoms. 3. Improved maintenance scheduling coordinating ground crews to minimize aircraft downtime when maintenance does occur. 4. Enhanced documentation providing clearer, more precise technical guidance for when maintenance is actually performed. The mechanics react with skepticism, bordering on mutiny. Chief Technician Morrison gathers his crew. "We're extending intervals. That's madness. We'll have engines seizing mid-flight." But orders are orders. On October 1st, Liberator FL-847, with 73 hours since last major maintenance, launches for anti-submarine patrol instead of entering scheduled service. Morrison watches it disappear. Toward the Atlantic, certain he's sending men to their deaths, FL-847 returns 8 hours later. No malfunctions, no squawks. By October 15th, astonishing data emerges. Pre-Waddington system, July-September 1943. Average operational readiness, 48%. Average unscheduled repairs per month, 312. Average maintenance man-hours per aircraft per month, 86 aircraft available for missions, 19 out of 40. Waddington system, October 15th and the 31st. Average operational readiness, 60%. Average unscheduled repairs per month, projected. 178 average maintenance man-hours per aircraft per month, 52 aircraft available for missions, 26 out of 40, 7 more aircraft available every single day. The combat validation comes November 2nd, 1943. Squadron 120 receives orders for a maximum effort operation against U-boat transit routes in the Bay of Biscay. Intelligence suggests a wolf pack is repositioning to attack convoy ON-207, carrying supplies to Allied forces preparing for the eventual D-Day invasion. Under the old system, Squadron 120 could launch 19 aircraft maximum. Under Waddington's system, 27 Liberators take off that morning. Flight Lieutenant David Thompson pilots Liberator FL-912. His crew includes Flying Officer Robert Hayes, co-pilot, Flight Sergeant James Murphy, navigator, Sergeant William Atkinson, radar operator, Sergeant Thomas Bradford, wireless operator, and 7 additional crew. At 0947 hours, 240 miles southwest of Land's End, Sergeant Atkinson's centimetric radar paints a contact. Surfaced U-boat, bearing 270, range 4 miles. Thompson pushes the throttles forward. The 4 Wright R-1820 radial engines that should be in maintenance under the old doctrine, roar to full power. FL-92 accelerates to 215 knots. The U-boat is U-966, commanded by Oberleutnant Eckhard Wolf. His lookouts spot the Liberator at 2 miles. Too late. Wolf screams, "Alarm! Dive! Dive! Dive!" But Liberators are faster than the old Sunderland's U-boat crews trained against. Thompson brings FL-92 screaming across the wavetops at masthead height. At 400 yards, Bombardier releases 6 Torpex depth charges set to 25 feet, Waddington's earlier recommendation. The weapons bracket U-966 perfectly. Massive underwater explosions lift the submarine's stern out of the water. Oil and debris erupt. U-966 wallows, unable to submerge. Thompson circles for a second attack. U-966 sinks at 1,003 hours. 48 crew killed. 3 survivors rescued by Royal Navy corvette HMS Sunflower 6 hours later. That same day, across the Bay of Biscay, Liberator FL-823, pilot FLT Lutz Michael Barnes, sinks U-340 Liberator FL-901, pilot SQN-LDR Peter O'Brien, damages U-271, forcing it to abort patrol Liberator FL-887, pilot FLT-LT Charles Robinson, forces U-618 to crash dive, disrupting its attack position. 4 U-boats engaged, 2 sunk, 1 damaged, 1 mission disrupted, all by aircraft that shouldn't have been flying under the old maintenance doctrine. German submarine commanders notice immediately. Kapitän Lieutenant Herbert Werner, commanding U-415, writes in his log on November 18, 1943, "Enemy air coverage has intensified dramatically. Where previously we might transit the bay with 1 or 2 sightings daily, we now face continuous patrol aircraft. The hunters have multiplied. They haven't multiplied. They're simply airborne instead of grounded. By December 31st, 1943, the data becomes undeniable. RAF Ballakele readiness rates: October 1943, 64%; November 1943, 71%; December 1943, 77%. Coastal Command U-boat kill rate, attacks resulting in sinkings: July-September 1943, 2.8%; October-December 1943, 6.7%. More aircraft available means more patrol hours, means more U-boat contacts, means more kills. Air Marshal Schlesser orders immediate expansion. By February 1944, all Coastal Command stations implement Waddington's maintenance protocols. By April 1944, it spreads to Bomber Command and Fighter Command. The lives saved calculation is straightforward mathematics. Each additional operational aircraft generates an average 0.3 U-boat sightings per month. Each sighting produces a 6.7% probability of sinking. U-boats average 4.2 merchant ship attacks per patrol. Merchant ships carry average 6,200 tons cargo and 43 crew. Waddington's system adds an average 18 aircraft to daily operational strength across Coastal Command's 10 squadrons. That's 18 aircraft, x 0.3 sightings, x 6.7%, kills, x 4.2. Prevented attacks, x 43 crew per ship, as approximately 690 merchant sailors who don't die per month, because liberators are hunting instead of sitting in hangars. Over the remaining 17 months of the European War, that extrapolates to 11,130 lives saved. Merchant sailors who see their families again. Cargo that reaches Britain. Food that feeds civilians. Fuel that powers armies. All because one biologist asked, "What if we're doing too much maintenance?" Absolutely incredible, right? But here's something even more amazing. This system is still used today in modern aviation. Don't go anywhere because what happened after the war will blow your mind. But real quick, if you're enjoying this, hit that like button and drop a comment telling me what other forgotten WWII innovations you want us to cover next. Okay, now let's talk about the legacy. The war ends May 8th, 1945. Waddington returns to Cambridge University and his embryology research. He publishes his wartime diary in 1946, though it remains classified until 1973 when it finally appears as Operational Research in World War II, ISBN 00236154663X. He never seeks publicity, never capitalizes on his achievements. When journalists ask about his wartime work, he deflects. Many brilliant people contributed to operational research. I was merely one analyst among many. But the numbers tell his story. Waddington Maintenance. System implementation. Adopted across all RAF commands by August 1944. Spread to Royal Navy Fleet Air Arm by October 1944. Shared with U.S. Army Air Forces under Classified Exchange Program, December 1944. Average readiness improvement across all implementations. 61% post-war evolution. In 1968, United Airlines engineers Stanley Nowlin and Howard Heap discover Waddington's classified wartime reports. They're astonished to find that a biologist in 1943 discovered principles they're independently rediscovering 25 years later. Nowlin and Heap developed reliability-centered maintenance, RCM, the foundation of modern aviation maintenance doctrine. RCM's core principles directly echo Waddington's 1943 conclusions. Most failures aren't age-related. Excessive preventive maintenance induces failures. Condition-based monitoring surpasses fixed interval overhauls. Run to failure is often the optimal strategy for non-critical systems today. Every commercial airliner, military jet, and general aviation aircraft worldwide uses maintenance programs derived from Waddington's wartime innovation. When your Boeing 737 lands safely after 40,000 flight hours, thank Conrad Waddington. Modern statistics, pre-RCM aviation maintenance, 1960s, 35% operational readiness. Post-RCM implementation, 1980s, 92% operational readiness, Current commercial aviation, 2024, 97% operational readiness. The RAF names its intelligence, surveillance, target acquisition, and reconnaissance hub RAF Waddington in Lincolnshire. Though the base predates WWII, it becomes forever associated with operational research excellence. Cecil Gordon, Waddington's collaborator, later writes, "What Conrad taught me was to question every assumption, especially the ones everyone agrees upon. The most dangerous phrase in any organization is, 'That's how we've always done it.'" Conrad Hal Waddington dies July 26, 1975, at age 69. His obituary in the Times focuses on his genetics research, devoting exactly one paragraph to his wartime operational research. It doesn't mention aircraft maintenance at all. But Chief Technician William Morrison, the mechanic who watched this revolution unfold, writes a letter to Waddington in 1962. "Sir, I don't know if you remember me from Ballykelly. I'm the fellow who thought your maintenance ideas would kill us all. I was wrong, and you were right. I spent 30 years as an RAF maintenance chief. Every aircraft that landed safely, every crew that came home, every mission that succeeded, part of that was your work. You didn't just improve maintenance. You saved thousands of lives. Thank you doesn't cover it, but thank you." The moral lesson resonates across decades. Expertise matters less than evidence. Credentials matter less than critical thinking. Conventional wisdom isn't wisdom at all when data proves otherwise. One scientist questioning assumptions achieved what committees, regulations, and expert consensus couldn't. Sometimes the most revolutionary act is simply asking, what if everyone's wrong?